View from the Top moderator, Axios publisher, Nicholas Johnston.
All right. Well, good afternoon. We're back at it. We are in the thick of a lot of great conversations here this afternoon at BFD. Thanks again for joining us. Hugely excited about our next guest. Consensys has been a partner with us multiple times before, and I'm very excited to have someone who has been at the center of blockchain evolution and technology for many, many years. And so I'm very happy to welcome the CEO of Consensys, CEO and founder, Joseph Lubin. Welcome back to the Axios stage. Joseph, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Let's start kind of big picture here. We're in Manhattan. This is full of banks. We've got financial folks and deal makers. Where is the opportunity, you think, for traditional financial folks in the world of crypto?
TradFi. So one big insight is that unlike the nature of traditional companies, which are essentially adversarial with respect to their consumers, they're trying to deliver as little as possible and extract as much as possible. Right. These web apps or tokenized protocols are all about creating a collective context, making use of tokens to incentivize the fulfilling of certain roles. And so a proto-collective capitalism is starting to emerge on decentralized rails. The place it gets complicated is that these tokens start to look like money, magic internet money, or shares, or utility tokens, and then governments and regulators start to pay attention. So when let's say Congress and CFTC and the SEC will figure out the rules of the road. And fortunately, while that's getting done, we have these ETFs representing Bitcoin, representing Ether, to enable the traditional investor to have an on-ramp into this emerging economy.
We'll get into the regulatory bit, I think, in a second, but I want to still stick with I think, kind of the community here in Washington, sure. I mean, in New York, very financial focused, but like we get a lot of folks here who aren't necessarily in financial institutions, maybe in healthcare or traditional technology or even entertainment. You talk about something that's very interesting to me. You talk about money crypto and tech crypto. How do non-financial institutions, do you think, that opportunity find it in crypto and blockchain?
So another big picture piece here is that essentially the internet, early versions of the web were built on decentralized protocols, and internet was open, transparent, decentralized. Web 1, very similar. When Web 2 came along, the value was so high, and the internet didn't have identity constructs and money constructs. And so because there was such tremendous value to capture, Web 2 set about building their offerings not with open decentralized protocols, but in siloed walled gardens.
And to close the internet.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so that's the world we're living in right now, and it has grown toxic. So one could say that the web has become, or big tech has become, essentially composed of weapons of mass social manipulation that can be used by actors who are enemies, essentially, of this country.
Like the centralized algorithms that make these decisions for us.
Exactly. So what we need, what different industries need in order to proceed in a healthy way, is a re-decentralization of the web, and that on open decentralized protocols. And so whether it's Bitcoin or Ether representing money or platforms, or protocols for decentralized physical infrastructure, protocols for decentralized identity, protocols for social networking. There are a bunch of those right now that will come along. There are protocols for healthcare where you can share your personal information under zero knowledge. There's a technology called zero knowledge proofs where you can de-anonymize or de-identify your own health data and share it with a research study. There are protocols that are enabling advertising or different kind of marketing tools, protocols for enabling content creators to share their...
For a lot of these people who are not necessarily in financial services, to see that those protocols can work not for financial transactions, which is perhaps where people have it sort of thought in their head.
Sure.
Right? Where those opportunities
so
are.
It's still pretty magical for the financial service industry.
Right.
So there are things like stablecoins, which are going to be a revelation. Transactional money will be accomplished via these stablecoins, and most of these stablecoin systems are based on either US dollars in the bank or buying treasuries. And so in a world in which many nation states are trying to disengage from the United States in terms of the use of the currency, in terms of lending money to the United States, it's really exciting that the lender base to the United States is diversifying,
right.
So that not only are these stablecoins making use of treasuries, but the United States is able to effectively dollarize many countries around the world, because holding these stablecoins and using these stablecoins in their day-to-day activities is very attractive to many people who are living in regimes in which their currencies are very weak.
I'm not allowed to sit up here and not ask questions about AI. We did it in the last one. We're going to do it again here. Give me a view from your vantage point of the intersection between Web3 and AI.
Necessary and complementary. So crypto, first let's start with the AI benefiting crypto. Crypto is very complicated. Even reading terms and conditions on the internet is very complicated. Wouldn't it be nice if we had some patient, thoughtful, intelligent agent to translate and summarize
I'll take that.
What we need to know? Decentralized finance is one of the most profound applications on crypto. Decentralized finance is going to just be called finance in a few years, but it is very complicated right now. And whether you're asking an AI about how this decentralized protocol works, or whether you're participating in the governance of some protocol, and essentially getting a précis of what the proposals are, what the issues are, what the trade-offs are, possibly even delegating your vote to an AI agent that you trust.
So making it more accessible.
It's going to enable us to interact in this very complicated new world with power and understanding.
You mentioned the regulatory structure a little earlier. I mean, we're in an election year. I'm not going to make you make any election picks up here, but crypto's been a really big topic in the election. Two questions, I think, related to that. What is your thought? Like, what should the next president, whoever they are, understand about crypto? And then how do you view, regardless of the election, what happens with crypto next year?
So crypto and decentralization is consistent with American values. And so Chair Gensler entered office a few years ago, having recently said something to the effect that 75% of these digital assets are clearly not securities. And he entered office and he recognized that he didn't have a mandate to regulate these tokens. So he asked Congress if he could have a mandate, and Congress did what it does best. It sat on its hands and it did nothing. And so Chair Gensler went about trying to, for some reason, went about trying to regulate our industry by effectively carpet bombing all of the American companies with investigations, very costly investigations, with Wells notices and lawsuits. And that effectively stalled, intentionally, I believe, stalled progress of our technology in America.
Well, before we run out of time here, we talked about this a little bit in Washington, D.C. when we last spoke about it. You just mentioned Congress just took their hands off of it. Okay, well, what are your expectations for Congress doing something next year?
So what we're seeing via our interactions with the two parties is that there is a real understanding that decentralized protocols and crypto represent the next evolution of the economy, the next evolution of the World Wide Web. And that Congress behaved brilliantly via safe harbors and prudent legislation at the advent of the internet and the web, and that resulted in innovation, and it resulted in American leadership. And so if we're going to see something like that, it's going to be great for the world, for the people of the world, to have a flourishing, decentralized web, and ideally the world will evolve with an American
All right, you
flavor.
seem optimistic, Joseph. We'll have to have you back maybe next year. We'll see how accurate you were. Joseph, thanks for being here. Thanks for Consensys for being a supporter today. Stick around. Primac will be back. Thanks a lot.